Welcome to the Poker Listings Podcast. I'm Jason Glatzer, and you're joining me on the road visiting major poker events and tournaments across the globe. Expect casual catch-ups, in-depth interviews, and much more. In the first round of interviews, I'm taking you to the Party Poker Championship in Malta. Tune in. We are here in sunny Malta for the PPC Malta at Portomaso Casino, and we have two special guests right here, right now, in Juha Pasanen and Peter Brankin. They're both with the game Integrity with Entain or with Party Poker. Welcome, guys. I'm amazed to have you here with us.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you for having us.
And how has been your Malta experience? I saw you guys a couple days ago, so you've got to see a little bit of the island, I hope.
A bit, yeah. We've been walking around and seeing the sights, enjoying the bit warmer weather compared to the UK.
Yeah, nice to have some Mediterranean food, maybe mix up the diet a bit. The food's been great here.
And what do you do with the players or with anything else here in Malta?
Yeah, so we're here to talk to the players. For example, if they have any concerns about game integrity, and so we're here to talk about the stuff that we do, mainly for obviously for the online.
Yeah, I think it's important that we as a department are transparent with players. Put a face to people that are making sure that the games are safe and being able to be available and contactable if they have any questions.
Good. And what's interesting to me is I understand that both of you have a very deep poker background, and I think that's important in any integrity department, but from speaking with other integrity departments, it's not always the case. So let's get into a little bit of your poker background, and I'm going to start with you, Peter. I've heard that maybe you've won some big things online, and you may have gone to like some cloudy place like the Bahamas or something on the house. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So it was biggest win there was live rather than online, but at the Hippodrome Casino in London. Shortly before I joined Party Poker in Entain, I won one of the first platinum passes for the PokerStars PSPC in the Bahamas. So that was 2019, I think, and it was a great experience. Unfortunately, managed to pretty much bubble on day 3 of the 25K.
No!
But it was a great trip, and very privileged to be able to go.
And how long have you been playing poker for?
I've been playing 10 years. I think started in a way a lot of sort of the younger UK guys start in the poker society there. So I ran the poker society at the University of Exeter about 10 years ago, and then there's a lot of quite accomplished players that have sort of come through there over the years, and then moved to Nottingham and then London, so playing a lot of live and a bit online at the same time.
So you're still grinding it out. That's good.
From time to time, you might find me playing cash games in London.
Very good. And Juha, we're talking about cash games, and I know you don't even touch tournaments yourself. You're more of a cash game grinder. So maybe tell us a little bit about your poker history.
Yeah, so I was in the Finnish army back in 2004, and at the end of the 1 year that I did there, I kind of on one of the weekends on leave, I found one of the episodes for the WSOP main events when Chris Moneymaker won, and that made me Google online poker, which is probably what a lot of people did back in the day, and started playing online, and 3 years later from that started playing professionally and played cash games online professionally for 10 years before joining Entain.
And what kind of games were you playing?
I was playing 6 max and full ring, like small and mid stakes.
And no limit hold'em, pot limit Omaha?
Yes, no limit hold'em only, yes.
Very good. And how do you go from being, let's say, a poker player that basically, like everybody else from your generation, from the moneymaker effect, got into poker, to doing what you do today? It's quite the leap going from poker player to the background of the security. Of course, you need to have a poker player's mindset to do your job, which we'll get into shortly, but how did that happen for both of you?
Well, yeah, I was always interested in getting involved in the industry, and of jobs that were available, it seemed to fit my skill set best, especially as a poker player and still an active poker player to some extent. It's something that appeals to be able to use that skill set that you've developed in your job, and it was. It's very interesting sort of seeing it from the other side, and perhaps there's a lot more tools at our disposal than perhaps some players might even imagine. But there's a lot of it translates as well from online. If you're ever reviewing your own gameplay, things like Hold'em Manager is not too dissimilar to some of the work that we're doing today.
So is it a prerequisite when you come into the job that you need to have at least some poker background, or was that part of your interview process? Yeah,
so I interviewed with Juha, and I was perhaps a little surprised that was the main focus of the interview. Obviously, when you're producing a CV or something, you wonder to what extent should I include poker on it. Some places really like it and others less so. And obviously in the industry, it's one of the main talking points. But the main prerequisite was, I think, 5 years playing experience. That was the number one criteria for him. And we had a hour-long chat about poker and how we go about investigating things. And then, here I still am 3.5 years later.
So those of you that are hardcore grinders, if a job opening ever happens, contact Juha, and maybe there's something for you. But Juha, how about you? How did you get into this kind of role?
So before we get into that, just to answer that, we actually do have a role open at the moment. So for a game integrity analyst in the team. So, so how I got into the role is the last couple of years before I joined Entain, I was a player on party poker, and whenever I saw some player at the table that I thought that maybe something wasn't exactly correct there, so I was reporting players to party poker to investigate, and that kind of then got me some contacts in the company. And then there was a job opening a couple of years later, and I applied to it and got the job at the time as an analyst. And then 3 years later, now it's a lot bigger department that has been built.
So how long have you been there for?
It's going to be 5 years in July.
Oh wow! So quite the journey.
Yes, it has been lived in 3 countries also during this time. So when I joined the company, it was in Gibraltar. So I lived in Spain and Gibraltar both, and then a bit later there was a team formed in London, which I was asked to then move to London to manage the team. And that was at the time when Peter joined. So 3.5 years ago.
Yeah, 3.5.
And just as a reminder to everybody, Juha is the head of game integrity, and Peter reports into him as a senior game integrity analyst. Both of them have tons of responsibility on their plate. We're going to dig in a little bit about what they do without revealing their intimate secrets that they can't reveal because, some things have to be kept in-house, as poker players are aware. So how big is your team right now?
So we are 35 people total. In
35?
Yes.
That's quite the team.
It is quite a big team. And we're in 4 different countries. So in London, Gibraltar, Sofia in Bulgaria, and then Hyderabad in India.
Wow. So all over the place on all over time zones. And when do you get sleep? Does that happen?
It does happen, yes. Now I have a good, strong team, so, I need to worry about it less personally, So, I sleep well with the team that I have.
Okay, and maybe you guys can go into, without revealing any secrets, what it is the integrity department actually does and how you guys are looking out for the players.
Yeah, so in short, our responsibility is any cheating at the poker tables. So we highlight and investigate suspected bot users, any team play, so collusion, money dumping, buttoning. Peter, you have some...
Yeah, so I mean, I think something that we can say, we have analysts, developers, data scientists, and we built custom software in-house, so every single hand that's played on Party Poker and the other brands that we manage is filtered through that software. Every hand is looked at, and we create custom alerts and that kind of thing based on this information to open investigations into players that we deem suspect.
And what percentage of the cases are, let's say, things that are coming up by you guys compared to, let's say, I'm sure you get like hundreds of emails and things on social media from players, this person is cheating, but it turns out that they probably just had a bad beat most of the time. It's a lot of tinfoil hat wearing, I'm sure, but at the same time, there's definitely some legitimate requests mixed in. So what percentage is coming through your tools versus people asking you guys to investigate, and then you say, oh, wow, there is something here?
Yeah, so when it comes to bots, for example, at the moment, I think we just did some analysis for last year, and our own detection methods caught, I think it was 98.7% of the bots.
Wow.
And 1.3% of the closures last year were based on player reports. The player report number is a little bit higher for collusion. I think it was around 10.
Yeah, 10 to 15% is player reported for collusion. I don't know the exact number of the reports where we take action, and the rest is detected by our in-house teams.
So the difference there is like in collusion, for example, we do get a lot of reports from players, and they might even just see like one action or one hand that they deem suspicious, which doesn't always mean that there was collusion. But when there is, then even that one hand might be enough for them, and they report it, and it's like highly appreciated by us that players kind of contribute to the integrity of the games by reporting anything that they deem suspicious.
Yeah, I think it's important to say like no report is too stupid, if you will. We investigate every single report that comes through to us. One of our agents will look at it, and then we'll review it. And even if, like you said, it only has to be one small action, you think maybe there's something wrong. Chances are there isn't, but we'll investigate that, and we will respond to the player, letting them know the outcome of our investigation.
And if a player at Party Poker does suspect something, how do they go about contacting your department?
So they can contact the customer services directly, who will then send the report to us. We also have our own inbox, gameintegrity@partypoker.com, where players can email. We also have our Safer Poker page, which contains all the game integrity rules for the network. And on the bottom of that page, there is a form that players can use if they want to anonymously to report anything that they find suspicious. Players could also contact our PR teams on Twitter, Facebook, Discord. Might have forgotten some, but there are several ways to...
The report will get through to us if it's made.
So it'll go through some kind of ticket system. No matter how it happens, it'll get over to, even if somebody tweets Party Poker, it'll probably wind up in your hands, your department's hands, and you guys investigate.
Yes, and we will then always get back to the player with feedback. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned already, we cannot really go into the details, but we will always let the player know whether there was any merit to the report and what action we took.
Okay. Now, let's say there was merit either through your own tools, which is the majority of the cases, or through a player report. What happens next? This person was colluding. What are the steps that are taken after that?
Okay, so after it's already concluded there was collusion, for example.
Correct.
Okay. If there is collusion that was already proven, then in most cases the accounts of those found colluding would be closed, and the balances of those accounts would be confiscated and then redistributed to the affected players.
are we allowed to ask? I'm going to ask it anyway, and if you don't want to answer, that's okay. But what kind of numbers are we talking about? Like how much is redistributed every year?
Yeah, so that's actually on the Safer Poker page. There's a table where we publish every month. We publish the number of accounts that has been closed and also the amount that has been redistributed. So off the top of my head, I cannot remember the exact numbers, but maybe we can add a link to the somewhere on this podcast where it's you know this better. So but yeah, the numbers are published. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for the past few years, it's probably 7 figures. The exact number I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. From the time that we started working on this, I think it's close to 2 million that we've redistributed.
So not a small number at all.
No, it's not.
You guys are doing a great job then. You know, you're investigating, returning to the players. I don't want to necessarily compare you to the competitors because there are some other competitors that also have very good game integrity, but there are some that if they do confiscate, we don't know where the money goes, you know, so it's a whole range of things. So it's good to know that whatever money can be recovered is redistributed.
I mean, I would add to that we don't freeze anyone's account unless there's a good reason already.
Okay.
So it would just be flagged internally for investigation, so the player might not even know that they are under investigation. And yeah, one thing to the redistribution of the funds, it's important to reiterate that any funds that we do confiscate, it's all 100% is redistributed back to the affected players. So we as a company, we don't keep any of that funds, so we don't profit from banning any cheaters. So there's no motivation, financial motivation for us to ban anybody. It's purely to maintain the safe environment for players.
So it's not like a policeman in some states that they're doing their quota of ticketing, so they basically can pay the salaries of their department. The group that you have, that's a cost of doing business, yes. And you're not expected to have any money coming in to offset that, which is good for everybody to know. No,
there are no quotas, so it's purely just to keep the game safe.
Yeah, and I think as ex-players ourselves or current players still, as a sort of moral thing, we would have a problem with profiting from a game integrity measure, right? Like it should be an automatic part of any poker game, whether that be live, online. There should be someone there protecting the players and enforcing rules as they should be.
Good. It's good to know the integrity department has integrity. That's a great thing. And have you had any interesting questions from the players in Malta? I know you guys, not necessarily the two of you, but people from your department come to every event to socialize with the players so that they can see that you guys are real people and that you guys are looking out for them. Have you had any questions from any of the players on this trip, or has it been more just fun and games?
I mean, there's always interesting questions, and sometimes there are tough questions that, we cannot answer because it would reveal too much about our investigative methods or the tools that we use to do that. So if for example, those types of questions are asked, then, we're trying to kind of explain that then to the players that, in the best possible way that, there are controls there and that this topic is covered, but that we can't just go into the detail on that specific subject.
Okay, I'm not going to keep you guys too much longer. I mean, we are on day 2 of the main event that's going to start very soon. By the time you guys listen to it, we'll know who the main event champion is. But we're very excited here in Malta, and I think some of the players are more excited about something else going on tonight. There is the Players' Party, and that is something to behold. It's on, I believe, the 22nd floor over here in the Hilton in Portomaso Casino, and the views are going to be spectacular. Are you two planning to party tonight?
We will be there, but as an official capacity, so we won't be having too many drinks. But yeah, it will be too late for the players listening to this. But yeah, we'll be there to answer any questions from players if they happen to have any.
Yeah.
Good. And if you did if you do go to a future party event, you need to keep in mind the parties. I mean, the parties are second to none. It's been a few years since I've been to one. I think the last one I was at was in Killarney, and maybe that's just like a very special place because nobody is sober in Killarney. But no, that was a good time for sure. And what are your plans? Are you staying tomorrow as well, or are you heading back tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll be here till the end of the event, so day 3, the final day, final table will be tomorrow. We'll be here until the end of that, and then after that we'll go back to London and continue our jobs there. Good.
Well, I hope to see both of you around. Thank you very much for joining us once again. I'm with Juha Pasanen, head of game integrity at Entain and Party, and his sidekick here, Peter Brankin, Senior Game Integrity Analysis. It's been a pleasure, guys, and hopefully we didn't reveal too many secrets, but we should give the players some comfort that Party Poker is looking out for them, that they want this to be a safe place to play, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having us.